figured out. I feel like
You're live. Hello, everyone. I think we have a couple minutes to we have about less than a minute to get started. But those of you who are chiming in, thanks for being here. We're excited about this. This is our first time that we are going live on YouTube for one of these purposes, which there may or may not be some things to work out. We'll see. But if you are here and you are a teacher or a student from a school, be sure to put your name and your school in the chat, just so that we know that you are here. And
yeah, we will be monitoring the chat as we're talking. And so, we'll try to answer as many questions if they are in the chat as possible. But our apologies if we miss some stuff. But
yeah,
we'll be monitoring it. So
that'd be awesome.
If you need clarifications.
Christine, Juan, Dana, great. This is awesome.
Awesome. You guys are all mostly new people, I think. Yeah. Perfect.
How many so far would you say we've received for new chapters?
I'd say at least like 25, almost 30.
Yeah.
And most of them are high schools, but we even have some middle school chapters, brand new ones. So
it's great. If you are brand new, those who are part of HOSA last year, we had over 17% growth. Over 1,000 people joined last year, and cross your fingers, we'll have a good amount of growth this year too. It's just hopefully evidence that HOSA is out there doing some pretty awesome stuff. Definitely not some new people. Nicole is here, Tracy Hoffman, Colleen. All right.
Yeah, we have
this is
some
great.
Veterans
as well. So maybe you guys can pipe in.
Oh, Marina.
Yeah, pipe in with some good advice once we start talking about some other stuff, resources and electing officers and stuff like that.
Your input is just as valuable as
ours.
So.
Absolutely. Well, let's get started because it is
201.
201. Here we go. All right. So we are going to start with the bottom level to begin with, and then we'll kind of get into the weeds, because there are some teachers out there that we know for sure. Either they're brand new to HOSA, they just heard about it from somebody, and they don't know much, but they want to know more. And then there's other people who have obviously been doing this for a really long time, and we still think there's still good, valuable information that will be good for you to hear. And certainly we have competitive updates. We did not save it for the very end, but sticking with us to the end. We're afraid we're going to see those competitive end updates.
And everyone's going to go. Bye-bye.
But as we'll get into it, HOSA is so much more than competitive events, and we want it to be for you. Let me just first start off by saying the last couple of years have been a different experience for me with HOSA. I've worked for this beautiful organization for almost 26 years now, and it's always been great since day one. We feel that it is very valuable to students at so many levels, for leadership, for recognition, for belonging to something that is bigger than themselves, belonging to something that is healthcare and wanting to be a part of it. But these last couple of years, I've actually had 2 of my daughters have been experiencing HOSA. And there was a competitive event that my second daughter was a part of last year. And I picked her up along with 2 of her classmates and brought them from the high school over to the elementary school where they were participating in health education. And I watched them do their competitive event. And I was watching the event, looking at my second daughter, and I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't even know she could do that. Mm-hmm. It kind of changed my eyes of like, what a great opportunity it was for her to get that actual classroom experience.
Something way out of her comfort zone.
Yeah, it definitely was out of her comfort zone, but she worked hard at it. She tried, and she did a great job. And I know that is really good life experience. As we all know, when we are placed in situations that are mock trials for something that is going to come later in life, that those are highly valuable experiences at a very high level. That is what HOSA is preparation now for what comes later. And, those technical skills that they're getting in school are so drastically important, but it's not what keeps the job. When they go in and they start working in healthcare, hopefully, it's those teamwork skills, it's the interpersonal skills that are really going to keep those jobs for them and help them be successful and climb the ladder in whatever corporation that they need be in at that moment. So HOSA is a beautiful thing. We think it's great. If you're interested in HOSA and having your students do it, you'll see that it is just awesome. And it really comes together when you see them doing this stuff at conferences or even before as they prep for it. So, and we should start off by saying, I'm Mark.
I'm Sam.
And we work for HOSA, and we're happy to be here. And thank you for being with us. If you're just chiming in now, please make sure to put your name and your school in the chat so that we know that you were here. And we just have a record of that. So
I do want to say Selena Gappy and Amanda Blitz from Stevenson High School. Selena Gappy?
Wow. Blast from the past.
She
right
was
there.
a former state officer. And
That's
so I'm curious to know if she's working with Amanda now. So I'm curious.
Cool. Maybe we should talk about that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
So Sam, can you please tell us a little bit, what is HOSA?
Oh, she said woot woot. So that's
Okay.
my assumption. Okay. So, so let's get started on what is HOSA. So HOSA is a student organization for middle school, high school, and post-secondary collegiate students who are interested in healthcare. We strive to provide these students with opportunities to develop as leaders, kind of as Mark touched on, and valuable future employees. And so it's not just a club. I know that some schools may have started that way, but we really encourage everyone to know that HOSA is not just a club. And they even say that it's technically not co-curricular, that it is curricular, and that it can be a powerful instructional tool for teachers to use in the classroom. And we will actually touch on that a little bit later. But some things that HOSA really offers students is the recognition, the leadership opportunities, networking with other students, particularly in their area, but then at the state level, and then even at the international level. So great networking, scholarship opportunities, connections to healthcare industry, and obviously the most popular is competitive events. And again, we'll touch base on that a little bit later. But yeah, HOSA in a nutshell is an organization for students who are interested in healthcare. And again, sometimes they don't even have to be interested in healthcare. We say that it's valuable for those who, again, just want to gain leadership and those like soft skills for future employment.
We had, truth be told, the number of teachers and students that come back year after year really come back for the competitive events. They love the competitive events at the regional, the state, and the international level. However, that's not every chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Marty Van Eye, who was a part of HOSA for many, many years and still is involved with HOSA,
Mm-hmm.
She, that one's there.
I don't know how to read that.
Okay.
Oh, that's on your phone.
Yeah. Makes me nervous. There's a teacher that reached out to us.
Oh, no, it's good.
Okay. Don't text me right now, guys.
I know.
Chat,
Sorry,
so important.
We're live. We're live.
We usually edit this.
Only panic. Okay, so
Marty
what
Van
Marty
Eye.
that-
Marty, actually, she would have 40 members that are involved, and maybe a handful of them would do competitive events because they were so involved with their service learning projects and the blood drives and
other things.
So yes, so it is many, many other things other than competitive events as well.
Yep.
Okay. So how do they get started if they're interested?
So how to get started. Again, some of you who are new on this, they've already reached out to us and kind of know this process. But for those of you who don't, the key thing is to reach out to Michigan HOSA. So whether that's directly to our emails, through our website, or through our contact form, and say, hey, I'm interested in starting a chapter, and we will get you set up with a charter number and password. The charter number is how National HOSA identifies you as an official HOSA chapter. It's also how you log into the conference management system, otherwise referred to as the CMS. The conference management system is where you will first affiliate members into this system. That's how they become an official HOSA member for the year. And then is also where you will eventually register your students for conferences. So the regional, states, ILC, or even any other opportunities that we have. So it's important to get access to that. And the other key component in starting a chapter is to have administrative support and approval, and to have a school-sanctioned adult to serve as the chapter advisor. So while this is a student organization, and we really, really believe that, it's also an adult, but it's student run, but it's adult assisted, advisor assisted. So it's really important to have people who are on the adults at your school on board to help the strength of the organization.
So can I talk about the advisor responsibilities?
Yes, I'm ready for that.
Okay.
So talk about advisor responsibilities.
So advisor responsibilities. The advisor is the coach or the liaison between your members and the organization, or maybe your school administration. Again, we see a very large view of the state and how different advisors run their programs. We would say the best ones are the ones where the teachers allow the students or officers to do a lot of the work, but not all of the work. If there is a question that some of the members have, it's always helpful for them to go, if you have a chain, that goes to you first. Mm-hmm. And if you can't answer it, then you come to us and we answer your question. Some of the early years of some of the very large chapters we have now, somehow it got into the communication line that if you have a question, go to the HOSA office. Well, I remember fielding 50 questions. It was the same question that could have been answered by the teacher there. Mm-hmm. Also, there's money that needs to be collected from the students sometimes, or there's bus transportation that needs to be coordinated, or hotel reservations. That kind of stuff appropriately should be done by the advisor, mm-hmm. Because the hotel definitely doesn't want to communicate with a bunch of students, nor does the bus.
Yeah. And if I may add, we're going to talk about resources in a little bit and about like a mass email that we do send out, but there are some things that we specifically send out to advisors that we need to know that's not necessarily appropriate to send to students. And so if that advisor is not communicating or getting that information out to students, then students aren't necessarily as prepared for a conference, for example, as they maybe did. So again, we try to reach out to everybody, but there are some things that we really need your help getting that information to the students as well.
Absolutely. Also, I do believe that the advisor is also a very kind of the cheerleader of the group as well. The energy of the chapter, the organization does come from the advisor. It helps guide them. I used to do a lot of school visits with the students. And then the advisor would come in afterwards and say, well, if you want to do this, you can do this. That's great. But sometimes I would just meet with the advisor and they would come up and I remember, in fact, it was Sam's advisor who would say, this isn't a question if we're doing it or not. You're doing HOSA. We're really excited about it. Look at all the cool things you get to do. So the advisor leads the enthusiasm of the group. Yeah. We in the HOSA office rely on the advisor to help run events. Obviously, there's only 2 of us here at the HOSA office, and some of these conferences are 3,000, 1,000, 1,400 people large, and that requires a lot of volunteers to help. So if you are brand new to this organization, just know that when you're at regionals or you're at states, we kindly ask that you help run the competitive events. You'll be an event manager, or you're a section leader, or maybe even a judge for an event that you don't have students in. Mm-hmm. So that is another part of the advisor responsibility.
And it's honestly the best way to learn.
Oh, true.
Like, was it trial by fire or that's not it? Like,
a little bit.
Well, jumping in, and it can be a bit of a learning curve, but also our competitive events are closed off to the public. People can't watch them, including advisors. And so that's also your way. By running the event, you can actually kind of see examples of it. And I even know, I think like Tracy Hoffman was like, oh, I had never done creative problem solving before. And then by her working that event, she was like, oh my gosh, this is actually really cool. I think that was Tracy. But either way, it's examples out there of them not knowing, certain events, but then seeing it and actually encouraging their students to do that because it was actually really cool. So,
yeah. Also, we love to communicate with the teachers. So again, if your students have questions, please have them go through you for the question first. But then if you don't know the answer, we always try to be available by email, by phone, by texting. I will say text might get the fastest response from both of us. If I'm ever in front of anybody else, I'm never going to answer my phone. So text is always a great way to get back with you pretty quickly. Yeah. And you just get one of our emails and you'll have both of our cell phone numbers.
Yeah.
So happy to do it that way. Okay. There's a lot of information in HOSA, a ton of it on the national website, on our website, in the Synapse.
Yeah.
I'm stealing your thunder here. What are some of the resources? How can they what are the resources and how can they access them?
Sure. Okay. Number one, most important. If you don't get anything out of this, I want you to get this.
Right now.
Please subscribe to the Michigan HOSA Synapse. This is our weekly e-newsletter that we send out to anybody who subscribes. So that it's for anybody. So advisors, teachers, parents, members, industry, administration, whoever. This is our number one way that we communicate. And like Mark said, we try to over communicate. So there's going to be weeks that it's pretty much the same information every time, but it's because we're reminding people of deadlines and registration and all of that fun stuff. So please take a moment to...
How do they do that?
Oh, you can do that through our website. There's a couple ways to do it through the website. There's like a direct link for it. Pretty much on every single page. So if you have any questions about how to get that, please let us know. But you can just go to www.michiganhosa.org. At the very top, there's resources and there's the newsletter sign up. So that's the direct way to do it.
Yeah.
And it's linked throughout the website. So please do that. Okay. So then, and at any time, people can do that. So you don't have to email us and say, can you please subscribe my co-teacher to do this?
You can do it.
They can do that.
Yeah.
Anytime. Okay. So then, and you can subscribe at any time. So if you're a member and you don't want to, if you are going to college and you don't want to, you can unsubscribe. So, okay. So speaking of the HOSA website, the Michigan HOSA website is probably going to be the most valuable to our Michigan HOSA members because it's the most relevant information. Again, going at the www.michiganhosa.org, we've got the My HOSA, so MI HOSA tabs at the top. And there's the teachers page and the students page. So this is for the advisors and the members. And on those pages are going to be resources that are most helpful to those types of people. So definitely check that out. We also have an events tab at the top, and that is for any conference or event that we hold, we have a page for that. So we have a designated page for regionals, states, and middle school state conferences. So at the time of those events, or if you want something to know about something of those events, obviously some of it's gonna, like the state one, all of the links aren't gonna be updated yet because it's pretty far out, but check back on those pages. Competitions tab is going to have most of your competitive event things that you need to be aware of, such as the general rules and regulations, the event guidelines, the Michigan HOSA event modifications, useful tools, and conference results. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about competitive events, but that's a big resource for everyone when it comes to competitive events. The resources tab. So that's a lot of like how to get started, how to sign up for the newsletter, online payments with credit card payments, a link to the HOSA Advisor Development Program, which we'll kind of touch base on at the very end of this, but it's essentially what we're doing here. It's a webinar series that Mark and I created to help advisors with what they need to do. And so of course, we have the partners tab, that's judges and sponsors. And then also on the homepage, there's featured quick links that it's 4 boxes that we continually update throughout the year with what we think is the most important things at that time. So during regional season, it's going to be a lot of appointment times listed there. It's going to be, just things that people probably need quick access to. We also, our YouTube channel is a great resource, especially for kids who really like YouTube.
We have a plethora of videos on YouTube.
Yes.
If there is a question to be had, we probably made a tutorial on it.
Or a video.
Yes. So Michigan HOSA is the YouTube channels.
And they go far back.
They
do. I made some
a long time
10 years ago that are still hits.
Relevant and helpful. Yeah.
So definitely check that out.
Check out Letter to Me.
Oh gosh.
That was Sam's debut in her videos. That one's clutch though. That's a good one. But yeah, it's okay. It's Nicole.
No, I was just somebody said that they're not able to stay for the entire meeting. Can I go back and watch? Yes. This entire recording will be on the YouTube channel. So you can finish watching it when you're able to. Yeah. But thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so YouTube channel, great. Of course, there's the National HOSA website, and this is going to be really helpful when it comes to even more competitive event stuff. But it's also helpful for the International Leadership Conference. That's obviously where you're going to get the bulk of your information. But I would like to shout out on the National HOSA website, there is something called the On-Demand Learning Opportunities. This was created by and maintained by a former HOSA advisor and health science teacher in Tennessee. And she basically it happened out of COVID. It's video on-demand lesson plans for free for teachers to use. So if you need something on like bloodborne pathogens or something, you can go there and use these resources. Or if you have a sub and you don't know how to do something, like you need sub plans or something, like it's a great free resource for advisors to use. And then lastly, I'll just say we do have an advisor guide. So for a lot of you who are newer, I know we've linked it a lot. This is like a guide for advisors, and we have a digital copy that you can access on the website, and we also have a booklet copy. So if you're one of those people who would prefer that, just let us know and we'll be happy to mail it to you. I do also want to say that we are going to update it for this year. So there will be a newer version that will be available for people this year. And then last but not least, for those of you who were around last year, we did have a calendar that went out as like our what?
Nothing.
Like a calendar that went out as our gift, I guess, for all HOSA advisors. And it, had all of the, dates and everything on it. And so our state officer team this year is, putting that together.
It's almost done, actually.
It's almost done. And so we'll hope to have those mailed out to you guys in September.
Just a little bit of a disclaimer on this one. The officers really took a hold of it and took their own pictures and edited their own pictures.
Their own creative licensing.
There you go. Okay. So we're calling it the state officer.
No, calendar. It's great. It's great. It's very creative.
It is. It's good.
Yes. So, but yeah, we will be sending those out in September.
Okay.
So that was a lot of resources.
Okay. Speaking of officers, this is always usually a question if you're new to HOSA. Okay, there's these things called HOSA officers that I'm supposed to have. How do you do that? What do they do? And that is a tough question to answer. And the reason why is because if you've seen one HOSA chapter, you've seen one HOSA chapter.
It's not cookie cutter.
It is not cookie cutter. There are some traditional roles that if you go to Section C of the HOSA handbook on the national website, you'll see that there is a president and a vice president,
secretary,
treasurer,
parliamentarian.
You raise your hand out there if you have a parliamentarian. I've never seen that. That's not true. I have seen that before.
Yeah.
Very rare, and it was like 20 some years ago. Nonetheless, the officers are student leaders of your chapter. Sometimes they are elected by the student body, the members. Sometimes they're handpicked by the advisors themselves. Sometimes it's a combination of both.
They get the final say.
They get the final say, but essentially they are the core group of students who really can take a lot of the tasks. Because remember, it's student-led and advisor-assisted. The more things that you can give them to do, collecting names and having meetings and running meetings, the more that
meeting agendas.
Right, making agendas. The more that they can do that, the better. But in recent years, we've seen some of the titles change over, and some of them might be the media director or social media director. So one of the students is in charge of posting about their particular chapter online. One of them might be the recruitment vice president, and they're in charge of recruiting members or putting on functions, social activities that might bring people who are interested in joining HOSA to certain things.
Fundraising
captain. There might be an event coordinator
or a competitive event preparations person.
Yeah. When you tried to log into CMS, you will need a charter number and password. Make sure to email us. We'll get that one to you.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so those officers are the ones that help. They can do a lot of the scheduling and come up with a program of work throughout the year. And what do I mean by program of work? Program of work is just your game plan. So when you start off the year, what goals does your HOSA chapter have? Will they do some service projects? Will they do a blood drive? How are they going to recruit members? Are they going to do morning announcements? These are the things that if you can break down month by month by month, what are the chapter goals? The officers can help work on those things and create a program of work. And what you'll see is if you have a game plan from the beginning and you have, actually this year's state officer team, they are going to share some sample agendas. I think they're going to do one agenda for every 2 weeks. They're going to provide.
I think it's basically like two agendas per month.
Yes.
Is that what you
Is that what I said? Or did I say per week?
I think you said per week. But
I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I meant 2 agendas per month.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of some suggested activities or things that you can go over as a part of your officer meetings. How and when you meet, that's really up to you. It could be during the day if that works for your school, or it's after school if that works.
Or it's in person or virtual.
Or it's virtual. It's kind of up to you on that one.
And it kind of just ties back to HOSA is more than competitive events.
Right.
Because some people we've heard that are like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. Well, no, you don't have to do anything. Like it's yours to make. But if they're like, oh, well, as soon as Johnny didn't make it to regionals, he basically left our HOSA chapter. And so it's like, well, even if he didn't make it at regionals and he's not going to states, what else can Johnny do to feel participation in HOSA and get a benefit out of it? Community service, all that kind of stuff. So it's a way to keep the members engaged in your organization throughout the year.
Yeah, sounds good. Man, I had another thought on that.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's all right. I lost it, whatever it is. Hopefully I come back to it. Oh, that's what it was. The calendar will also give some suggested activities. So when you receive that, you'll see in each one of the months, it has things that maybe your chapter could be thinking about or do that particular month.
Yeah.
For example, the first full week in November is HOSA week, and it's spreading awareness of HOSA or healthcare or whatever your chapter chooses to do. Yeah. It's a great week for service projects as well.
Yeah.
It's in the calendar. Can't wait for you guys to get that. Calendar. It's almost going to print. Okay. And then, so then we have the classroom itself, and Sam kind of touched on earlier how HOSA isn't supposed to be, for those of you, well, this is weird because classrooms are all set up differently. Chapters are set up differently. But there are ways, hopefully, if possible, if you have students inside your class, to set it up as how do you take HOSA and integrate it into the classroom?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah. So that might sound intimidating, but it's actually likely easier than you think it is, or you're probably maybe doing it in some ways. But the competitive event guidelines can be used as curriculum. And so the guidelines are created for every single event, and it has all of the resources that you need. It has all of the outlines of what the event looks like, and it even has the rubrics that are used. And so you can use it as like a skill checklist or assessments or again, ways to get them to do public speaking or certain activities in the classroom. And so I have some examples that might be like that we've also heard people use in their classroom, and that's you could play HOSA with the classroom.
What is HOSA?
HOSA is essentially like Quiz Bowl. So you've got 2 teams of 4. There's a buzzer or a bell, and you ask a question, and it's who answers it first kind of thing. So you can play that game in the classroom related to like a body system that you are teaching for that curriculum. You could do medical spelling, which is essentially a spelling bee for medical terminology that your kids are learning about. You can use the middle school extemporaneous health poster to have them do a topic or like a health related topic or disease. And then after that, they can hang it all throughout the school, and it could be a way to like display HOSA, but also their creative works. So that's a really cool idea. And then also research persuasive.
I'll mention it in a second.
Okay. Also research persuasive writing and speaking. That's a really cool one too, because they can write a paper and do a speech about a controversial topic in healthcare. And so that's a lot of learning skills right there in that one. So all of those can be used, and it might sound overwhelming. And so maybe it's you just start with one for the year, and then you add on more as you continue to do HOSA. So those are just some fun ways to utilize the guidelines and integrate it into your classroom.
If my favorite one is biomedical debate. And so there's some topics, some old topics that you can look at, and the current one this year. And if you have your students in class and grab a team of 4 and another team of 4, and they debate against each other, some of them might have to put themselves in the shoes of something they don't necessarily believe in, which again is a really good life experience. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the events I recommend that you guys do.
Yeah.
Do you want?
Okay, so that's kind of classroom integration, but I talked about competitive events a lot. So now we have come to the
competitive events.
Competitive events and the
updates. Been waiting for.
Thanks for hanging in there. Okay, so some number 1 rules that for those of you who are new, we're going to let you know about. And for those of you who are not new, we're going to remind you about. So if you get to know Mark and I, we try to be as flexible as possible. And
if we can make it work, we will try to. We're not afraid of hard work. And if we can accommodate a student or teacher, we will definitely do so. Unless it's not fair to everybody. What's not fair to everybody? That's what that. Okay.
Members can only compete in one competitive event. And by competitive event, I mean when you look at the list of guidelines, it's going to be health science events, health profession, emergency preparedness, leadership, and teamwork. So those 5 categories, all of those events, only one event. Now I'm going to complicate it a little bit. And so at the state and the international level, they can do their competitive event in addition to as many recognition events and ATC tests as they would like. Okay. So all of the recognition and ATC not offered at regionals, but they can do them in addition to their one competitive event at states and internationals. Number 2, you cannot compete with any more or less people than what is stated in the guidelines. So if your event has 2 to 6 people, you can only have 2 to 6 people. If you have to have 4 people, you have to have 4 people.
Which doesn't sound problematic. You say, okay, that's great. When does it become problematic?
You and your teammates are fighting. Or your teammate is barfing on the bus on the way to regionals or state.
They don't go.
What do you do?
Yeah.
And so this is where we're flexible, but you can't break rule number 1, which is You can only compete in one. So if I need a partner and Mark is coming to do prepared speaking and he's willing to be my CPR first aid partner, Mark can do that, but he has to drop his prepared speaking event.
Right.
Or if you get a last minute replacement, totally fine. We'll make substitutions literally day of, but they have to be an affiliated HOSA member.
Right. So once again, if Susie Q is not a HOSA member, but she can somehow get on the bus really fast, we'll sign her up at the event themselves.
Okay. So number 3, guidelines are written for the International Leadership Conference. And we do strive to follow the guidelines as close as possible so there's no confusion or anything. But there are certain things that we're not able to accommodate or that
it just doesn't apply.
Yeah. So we create every year for the regional season and the state season, they're called the Michigan HOSA event modifications. And these are weird things that we're trying to let the students know ahead of time, like, hey, you don't have to do, like, we're going to tell you what skills you get to do at regionals. And so you're going to want to look at those. Or another example for here in Michigan, we try to have everyone go on to round 2. We don't usually use round 1 or prejudging as qualifiers, just so we can have everyone have the opportunity to do it.
Which I will say is a big deal, because at the national conference, you may have Sally Sue fly across the country to go to the International Leadership Conference in sports medicine, takes the test, doesn't qualify, and all Sally Sue did was take the test.
Yeah, she doesn't get to do the round 2 skills.
In Michigan, we work very hard to get as many judges and rooms and sections needed so that every student will do both the first and the second part of their event, if that's applicable.
Correct.
Okay.
We do our best. So it's just things like that they, need to be aware of. Okay, so definitely look at those. Number 4, it's unique to Michigan. Not every state offers all of the competitive events that National HOSA offers, except organizational leadership. We do not offer that in Michigan, so you won't even be able to register for it. So don't even look at that one. And then just to reiterate, the ATC test and the recognition events are only for SLC and ILC, and those are done virtually before the state conference, and even like the recognition for that is through the conference program. It's not on stage. So a lot of times kids can participate that without even actually going to the conference. Okay, number 5. Pick your event early.
Yes.
Why should they pick their event early?
Are you asking?
I am asking.
Oh, okay. Well, once we know of something right away, we start filtering things through that lens. We become more familiar with it. We read it more times. We, just like any movie or show we watch, the more we watch it, the more things we pick up as we go. Same is true with events. They become more successful. They learn more. They just do better in their events.
Yeah. So definitely pick early. And then lastly, there's really no secret to winning when it comes to these competitive events. And the reason I say that is because, again, National HOSA does their best to give you all of the information that you need in your guidelines. And so including exactly what the rubric is that the judges will be using. So use that and really look at your guidelines. Because if you were to ask any judge what's their number one feedback, it's almost always read the guidelines.
Right.
And so National HOSA also creates a lot of what they call competitive event useful tools. And again, we have that linked on our website. It's also linked on their site. But this is great because it has all the event changes on it. It has sample scenarios that they can use to practice. It even has past topics. So if you're looking for a fun topic for your health career display or whatever, or like, I don't know, like you can go there and look at that. And we know that resources can be challenging to new chapters or those on a budget. And I want you guys to know that this is an ongoing conversation at the state and the international level. But until we have a perfect solution for that, we have gotten some tips from other advisors. So one of those being call the publisher and ask for a copy, because sometimes they will give teachers a free copy of the book to see if they want to use that in their classroom.
Right.
Number 2 is Amazon is obviously a great resource in terms of getting used books, getting digital copies of the books, or renting the books. So sometimes that's on Amazon or the publishing company's website, but Amazon tends to kind of be a little bit cheaper sometimes. A lot of the times they update to the latest version of that book. And so if that's the case, sometimes if you just go with the last version, it's going to be cheaper, and it's actually not that different. So worst case scenario, use an older version. And ask your school or local library to see if they are able to purchase the book, and then you just rent it or check it out from your library. And then lastly, use online resources. A lot of kids have made Quizlets, videos, and things in the past. And so those are things outside of your event or guideline resources that you can try.
They may want to double check the Quizlets though, because sometimes
sometimes they're not accurate, but
I think there was a student last year who complained that she thought she got a question right because of the Quizlet said this.
Really?
I didn't know how to respond to that one so much. So,
okay. So changes for this year.
Changes.
Okay.
2025, 2026 HOSA competitive event changes for international and Michigan HOSA.
Okay. So first, Michigan. Middle school will no longer be participating at regionals. Middle school members will have their middle school state leadership conference and the ILC.
Correct.
Okay. Overall changes. Tests will now be 50 questions for 60 minutes. This doesn't change for some, but it changed for pretty much all of the health, science, knowledge tests. Those were usually 100 questions. They have changed to 50. The only thing that is an exception is medical math will still be 90 minutes, and middle school will be all 35 questions for 60 minutes.
Okay.
Occupational therapy was a new event last year. Last year, it was just a test, but now this year they have rolled out the skills. So it'll be a round 1 test and a round 2 skills. Surgical technologists is a new event, and it is also just like a lot of the health professions ones. It's a round 1 test and a round 2 skill. So definitely check that out. Respiratory therapy is now modeling the health professions. So they will have a test for round 1 and skills for round 2, whereas before it was a round 1 presentation, round 2 skills. So it's kind of more traditional where it's going back to a test and skills. New test-only events are biomedical equipment technician and healthcare administration. I think that's going to be pretty popular. And then just for middle school, they have separated healthy living. So there's now a foundations of healthy living. So they're going to have it's going to have its own test, and it's going to have its own different criteria. So they're not going to do the SMART goals, but they'll do something different. And then another middle school only event that's a team event is called First Step Career Skills. So check that one out.
Sam, how many total events are there across the board?
103.
103 competitive events.
So obviously, if you take out the ATC and the recognition, it's less than that, but it's still
in the
70s,
yeah,
something like that.
It's
so it's a lot.
Hence why
we offer all of them. And that's also why we need people.
That's right.
Yeah. And then, so all other new topics, medical reading books, the more specific changes to certain events, they will be updated in the guidelines, and those guidelines go live, like the updated ones go live September 1st. So make sure when students, I know some people are probably starting school next week or already have, make sure they are going to look at the newer guidelines. It'll say the date at the bottom, like it'll say 2025 or whatever. So make sure you look at those.
Okay, but real quick, do the 4 topics that actually change each year.
So public health topic this year is food wars, battling big soda and ultra processed food. So then there's the prepared speaking and speaking skills is always the National HOSA theme, and that is Champions of Change, 50 years of HOSA future health professionals. So that's another cool thing is at ILC this year, they're celebrating their 50th. So that'll be super cool. And it's in Indianapolis, which is, 4 hours from some of us. I just was like 4 hours from Michigan. So I'm like, no, that's not true, but it's closer to a lot of us. Research persuasive writing and speaking is the smartphone responsible for the current youth mental health crisis?
And adult.
Yes. Yes. Biomedical debate, Mark's favorite, is social media health influencers should be monitored. That's a really good one, I think.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And then lastly, the public service announcement is, again, sponsored by Hilarity for Charity. And so it's brain health is public health. So it was kind of on brain health last year, but so it's still on brain health, but it's now brain health is public health.
And you can find all of these updates on the National HOSA website. Do we have a link on Michigan or no? Yeah.
I can.
Maybe soon.
Again, it'll be reflected in your guidelines.
Yes, but you can access all of that right now off the National HOSA website, HOSA.org/competitions/competitive events.
Okay, so that was a lot
on competitive events.
You'll hear more and more about that, but we're going to switch gears, and Mark is going to talk about conference expectations.
Number one, and this is the biggest one, is we have realigned regions this year. So if you were in a region last year, does not guarantee you're going to be under that number again. We sent that out a number of times in the Synapse already, and we will continue to send it out.
It's also linked on the website.
It's also linked on the website. We have all 9 of them now. If you remember the last couple of years, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7, 8, 9. We actually have 6 now. And they're all realigned, and they're geographical in a sense, but they're not by county anymore.
Correct.
And the reason why is because last year we had at our Region 9 conference, no, let's go the other way.
Okay.
At our Region 2 conference, we had 600 people, but our Region 9 conference, we had 1,400 people. That's just not a fair playing ground.
Right.
So what we tried to do is align it the best we could with the numbers that we had from last year, which works out to be just under 1,000 for each one of the conferences. And they're almost exactly the same as far as membership based on last year's number. Is that going to change? Yeah,
yes.
But at least it'll be closer than it has been. So you may be driving a little bit further to some of the events, but not much. It'll still be pretty close.
Yeah, like we kept pretty much everyone under an hour.
Oh, wow. I mean, that depends on where you are. If you're in northern Michigan, you're driving further.
Right. I'm just saying, like, some moved
within reason.
Yeah, it's within
reason. Again, going back to conference expectations, advisors, you're going to be helping. We used to have a ratio of 1 to 30. So if you had 30 people coming, you had to bring 1 person to help with competitive events. If you had 31 people coming, it would be 2. Did I say 30? Am I 31? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you're branching into another 30 and you need to bring 2 people. This year, that number is coming down to 1 to 20 person ratio. And that's not the person monitoring your students. So if you need somebody to monitor your students while you're there that isn't helping with an event, that doesn't count. We need some help.
Like
event personnel.
Yeah. Event personnel.
1 to 20.
And there will be ways that we will help get those people, like whether that didn't come away. Like we included on our judge form, like, are you with a school? So like people can get credit for a parent and whatever.
It's always good to just email
more, but yeah,
as well, Sam, and let them know these are the people helping.
Yeah.
We are taking top 5 from regionals making it onto state. So last year we had 7, the top 7. This year is the top 5 competitors at regionals qualified to go on to the state conference.
Mm-hmm. Why are we doing that?
The reason why is we shoot for 2,500 members to be at the state leadership conference. Last year, we had almost 3,100 members. It's just too big for the Grand Traverse Resort, and we're trying to get it down. And we increased the number of sending regions to there. So we had to obviously whittle it down because there's going to be a lot more qualifiers.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yep.
Top 5.
Love it.
Okay. Feedback cards. Okay.
Don't throw food at us.
Okay. Don't throw food at us. Okay. Feedback. So again, okay. So this is an age-old thing, but it is, students want feedback based upon how they did in their competitive event beyond just their ranking. HOSA is not a teaching opportunity. It is where you go and you get recognized. So you won't get evaluation sheets back. And then we thought, well, shoot, can we just do feedback cards? So we introduced feedback cards a number of years ago. And this is honestly, it's turned out to be more, it's not as helpful as it sounds on paper. And the reason why is because, number one, people don't pick them up. So it was a waste of time by the judges. Number two, the judges don't have time to fill them out. So only a small percentage of them did to begin with. Number three, if they did fill them out, it was good job or something unhelpful to the situation. So the Michigan HOSA Advisory Board actually said, scrap it. It's not worth it anymore. And we are happily going to accommodate that motion, is that we're just not doing feedback cards.
We are going to be looking for other ways to do it. National HOSA has a way of collecting feedback from judges and having basically like an info sheet of like, again, the basic recommendations basically that we can share to the masses. And so, we might be doing something more along those lines so that they can still kind of get some sort of feedback, but we're not going to do the feedback cards anymore.
Yeah. Registration deadlines for the events are hard deadlines. Make sure, especially the upload one. If students is it required by their event to upload something, they need to do that by the deadline because it's really hard, because things get judged before the day of. So if it's an uploaded event, they need to get it in ahead of time.
And why is it also important that they register by the deadline?
Well, everything's based off of numbers. The schedule is the placement,
the number of sections. So
correct.
That means how many judges I need. Like,
right.
So much.
So please don't be late with that.
1 or 2 here and there. That's fine.
The fact that you're here and you're listening to this means you're not going to be late anyway.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
We're probably not talking to you. Payment, we have set the deadline as you must pay, but before the conference.
Yes.
Must pay before the conference. Definitely the day before the conference.
Yeah.
Has to be done. We put that in the calendar. Payment is due before the conference.
Yes.
And then if for some reason, let's do that. Make sure to verify your logistics to the conferences. If you're taking a bus, make sure you double check on that bus.
Mm-hmm.
Dress code, whatever it says in regionals for that particular dress for their competitive event, that's what they can wear the entire day long. For states, the same thing, except for the general sessions, students need to wear a suit. So boys in a tie, jacket, girls, whatever the equivalent is, a suit.
Same thing beside the tie.
Pretty much the same thing besides tie. Okay, so that's the dress code on that one. And then other expectations as far as conference goes, any help that you can give us with recruiting judges is super helpful. So if you have connections or you have people coming or you have a sister-in-law who happens to be free that day, we'll take them. Okay. Especially somebody who works in healthcare.
Yeah.
There is a volunteer sheet on our website. Be sure to have them fill that out and we will get them placed. We have a judge coordinator, and Sam, who do a really good job of communicating with the judges, what their event is, the guidelines, when they need to be there, all that good stuff. So
the sooner we have that information, the sooner I can get that information to them. So that's really helpful.
Okay. And last thing, a lot of things that we just talked about are available on our advisor development series. We have that connected through our website. It's under advisor tab.
Yeah. I was going to say, if it can maybe get linked in the chat.
Okay.
If they know how to do that, but
okay.
We'll try to link it.
We'll try to link that. Yeah. So you can rewatch these things in kind of the specific category or topic.
Yeah.
And you wanted to watch.
And honestly, the videos are only like 2 to 5 minutes long. The conference management system one is a little bit more in depth, but
it needs to be.
It needs to be, yeah. So we really encourage you guys to look at the video series that we created. But just some last minute reminders, because we're at our hour mark pretty much, is just be on the lookout for those calendars and that new advisor guide. Don't forget to subscribe to the HOSA Synapse, and please look at the new regional regions sheet. Figure out what your region is, and we'll have the date and location for you all there. And last but not least, if you need to get a hold of us, my email is samantha.pohl@mhc.org, and Mark's is
HOSA at,
you're not typing.
oh, dang it, HOSA@mhc.org. And again, just email us if you, there it is, samantha.pohl.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep. And we'll also provide our cell phone numbers in there so you can reach out as well. We are always happy to talk with our advisors or potential teachers. We love what we do, and we hope that you love being a part of this organization. So we try to make it as welcoming as possible. This is an incredible community of people and teachers. We are so lucky and fortunate, not just us, but everyone who is involved in the teachers, to be part of the culture that we have here. And we cannot welcome you into it. So thanks for watching today.
Cannot wait to welcome you into it.
Cannot wait to welcome you into it.
Yeah. You said we cannot welcome you into it.
Cannot wait to welcome you into it. And this is Sam, and this is Mark, and this is how we do.
And like we said earlier, this video will be available to rewatch. So if anyone missed it, you could just hit the link, or again, it's in the chat.
All right. Thanks for being here with us so much today. And we wish you the best of luck as you start this year.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.